out there that ain't with me. All right, welcome, folks. We all survived till the harvest moon this year. Congratulations. I got to start with a warning. I am not feeling well today. So I'm going to do my best to get through this without shitting my pants or anything else too disgusting, but I'm not making any promises. Let's all set that goal for tonight. Let's see if we can all get through this without anyone shitting their pants. And if we can do that, we'll consider it a success. Hey, Daniel and Dan, good to see you both here. Let's start with a reading tonight. The path is exceedingly vast. From ancient times to the present day, even the greatest sages were unable to perceive and comprehend the entire truth. The explanation and teachings of masters and saints express only part of the whole. It is not possible for anyone to speak of such things in their entirety. Just head for the light and heat. Learn from the gods. And through the virtue of devoted practice of the art of peace, become one with the divine. The art of peace begins with you. Work on yourself and your appointed task in the art of peace. Everyone has a spirit that can be refined, a body that can be trained in some manner, a suitable path to follow. You are here for no other purpose than to realize your unity and manifest your innate enlightenment. Foster peace in your own life and then apply the art to all that you encounter. Yes, Dan, I'm imagining that's acceptable. Nerdy Bird can't hear you anyway, Dan, so don't worry about it. It's only me that it'll be audible. One does not need buildings, money, power, or status to practice the art of peace. Heaven is right where you are standing, and that is the place to train. All things material and spiritual originate from one source and are related as if they were one family. The past, present, and future are all contained in the life force. The universe emerged and developed from one source, and we evolved through the optimal process of unification and harmonization. The art of peace is medicine for a sick world. There is evil and disorder in the world because people have forgotten that all things emanate from one source. Return to that source and leave behind all self-centered thoughts, petty desires, and anger. Those who are possessed by nothing possess everything. Now and again, it is necessary to seclude yourself among deep mountains and hidden valleys to restore your link to the source of life. Breathe in and let yourself soar to the ends of the universe. Breathe out and bring the cosmos back inside. Next, breathe up all the fecundity and vibrancy of the earth. Finally, blend the breath of heaven and earth and the breath of earth with that of your own, becoming the breath of life itself. All right, Daniel. Who's the author? Morihei Ueshiba? I don't know how to pronounce that. So the art of peace. Did I put it close enough? No, it's just glaring out. Anyway. Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it. But that's my best attempt at pronouncing the author's name. How's everyone doing? hope you're all feeling better than I am tonight. Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for showing up. Feel free to write anything in the comments, like off topic from what I'm reading. Well, nice to have you here too, even though I'm not seeing you. All right, nothing else to respond to. I'm going to read another couple pages. All the principles of heaven and earth are living inside you. Life itself is the truth, and this will never change. Everything in heaven and earth breathes. Breath is the thread that ties creation together. When the myriad variations in the universal breath can be sensed, the individual techniques of the art of peace are born. All right, Nerdy Bird's been blah. Winter's coming and I dread it. Yeah, fall equinox. Well, we're jumping ahead to winter there. But fall equinox in 2 days. So we're getting towards it. I can feel the summer energy dying as well. Less birds around. Chipmunks and squirrels are, their behavior's all shifting. I can see the fall behavior, even though it's still technically summer for 2 more days. That summer energy's dissipating quickly. It's funny. Fall and spring don't feel quite like real seasons to me. Winter and summer seem like the real seasons. Fall seems like the transition to winter, and spring the transition to summer. So I do the same thing you do, Nerdy Bird. As soon as it's fall, winter's on my mind. And as soon as it's spring, summer's on my mind. But that doesn't happen with winter and summer. When winter sets in, it feels like winter. When summer sets in, it feels like summer, and I'm not thinking about fall. When winter first sets in, I'm not thinking about spring. By the end of winter, there's a longing for spring. Get tired of the fucking cold in Canada. Yeah, very well put, Dan. Twilight seasons. Those two seem like twilight seasons to me. Nerdy Bird finds the same transitions. Anyone else feel differently on that? Anyone else feel like fall and spring are equally as real as summer and fall? Or even more so? Hey, Joel, good to have you here. Joel says, winter's really cold for you. I'm from Alabama. Hot here. So in Alabama, do you pretty much just have summer all year? Dan says they're special to me, a sacredness to them. Yeah, there's a sacredness to every season, though. I had been thinking recently that it must be strange to live somewhere. Okay, Joel says, no, the winter's more like spring. Yeah, I had been thinking what it would be like to live somewhere without the 4 seasons. Especially spending time with Ani. She's not here now. She left a couple days ago, but she was here since the 1st. And she's lived her whole life in Hollywood, where it's pretty much just summer and a cooler, wet summer, from my understanding of it there. So to her, the 4 seasons are like something out of a movie. Or the stories. I don't know how to describe how I find that strange, what I would see missing. There's a power and a spirit to the seasons the way I experience, the way nature experiences the seasons here in Quebec. Or I suppose like Andrew talks about what it's like in Tonga. He says basically just the difference between raining or sun. That the temperature barely varies within a few degrees. Well, perhaps that's hyperbole, but that seems very strange to me. Because the way the seasons unfold here is like right out of the archetypes. There's a special energy to each season. And especially with how that ties into a lot of these celebrations and like what fall means and what a harvest festival of any sort. You know, Thanksgiving or the traveling fairs this time of year. Halloween. When you're in a season, when you're in a climate where things grow all year, I don't see how you can experience the energy of a harvest festival the way you do when you're in a climate where you've got part of the year to grow everything you're going to grow. So Nerdy Bird says he grew up in Louisiana. It gets cold, but nothing like in Kansas. So what's it like in Kansas? Do you get the full-on winter with snow and shit? My geography is not very good. Dan says if I could stay in autumn, I'd appreciate it greatly. Really, you'd pick autumn. Does that come down to, yeah, I know you don't mind me getting into this on here. Or I believe that I know you don't mind me getting into this on here a little bit, Dan. Correct me if I'm wrong. But does your preference, because my preference would not go, okay, cool. My preference would not go to autumn. If I could have one season like locked in, it would be summer. As much as I was just saying something would be missing to me without the cycle. Summer's the one I want more of. Yeah, I wouldn't, if I could change it, I wouldn't remove all 4 seasons. But I'd shorten all the rest, especially winter. And I'd stretch summer out. For me, autumn's when the world gets heavy. When that fucking adrenaline-laced energy of summer is disappearing. When my antlers like feel heavy and fall off, and as I feel myself, it's autumn's preparing for the tomb. We're fattening up to hibernate in the caves with the bears. Autumn's dying. It's the end of the day for me. Winter's the middle of the night. I wonder, does your preference for autumn come from you'd said to me recently that you prefer the depression to the mania, that as much as the mania is fun, and I understand. I've been in periods where I felt the way like you discussed, like described to me. But for me, that's rare. I usually want the fuck out of the depression back into manic or at least level. But there's something about swing of shit. The way what goes up must come down, and Icarus too close to the sun and such. There's something about the arrogance of being too happy. It's easy to embarrass yourself when you're manic. You dream big and start a lot, or even just believe in a lot. And it can be extremely pleasurable, but you're still lifting yourself higher and higher above a very solid floor that you know you're going to crash back down into. And so sometimes, as unpleasant as depression is, it feels so much safer. Like, fuck, at least if I'm down here, I'm not going to crash again. Dan says that's how I feel with autumn. Shorten the rest, but stay in the cool air and changing of colors and gratitude for those who came before. Autumn sunsets are my comforts. Yes, there is something very, very fucking beautiful about the way everything turns orange and red. Something very, very beautiful about autumn. But I find the shift to depression, because depression makes it harder for me to see beauty. Depression's a filter that goes over the world. Like when you're tired. Yeah, for me, I experience the year much like a day. You know, sometimes at the end of the day when you're tired, you just, like from the outside, you would describe it as that person's not appreciating the beauty around them. Me, seems it goes a little deeper than that. You actually don't even perceive it. It's a filter that goes over the world. So a lot of the beauty of fall, I have difficulty experiencing. Hey, Project Sigma, how you doing tonight? All right, so Nerdy Bird. Yeah, I'm not going to worry about answering everything. My brain got tired there of talking, and so I read a few things without responding. Sorry, but yeah, you guys, the tribe are used to that. Nerdy Bird understood, yep, preparing for the tomb, middle of the night, all excellent metaphors. And Daniel says these type of weather could help for the pace of life. I personally prefer summer and spring. Yeah, those are what I prefer, but I do know I need fall and winter. And looking back on the past few years, I push myself too hard every year. Kind of like if at the end of a week you were looking back at the week and thought, fuck, you know, I pushed myself hard every fucking day this week. When I look back at the past week of years, I pushed myself very hard. Never prepared properly for the evening. Maybe not I'm going to abandon that train of thought. Taylor Alaska says, hey, just got into the stream. How long has it been going on for? 20 minutes, although I don't know when you wrote that. I start at midnight every full moon. How you doing tonight, Taylor? Joel says, I hate anxiety the most. Yeah, anxiety is a unique kind of unpleasant. It's an intensity to anxiety compared to depression. Not sure. Would I take a panic attack over feeling suicidal, though? As bad as anxiety and full-blown panic attacks are. The extremes of suicidal are pretty fucking bad. Okay, Daniel says, I've been discovering recently the ABC model by the psychologist Albert Ellie. That makes me think. I'm pretty sure I have heard something that somewhere in my head I know what the ABC model is, and the name Albert Ellis seems familiar. But I cannot connect to my knowledge of that if I have it in my head. Or I don't actually know what that is, and this is some other misfiring inside my skull, giving me the sensation that I've heard of that, even though I haven't. I think I've heard of that, though. What's the most relevant part of that model to your life? What's the part of that model that you felt most able to live? Not just something theoretical to understand, but something that actually affected the way you interact with yourself in the world, that actually altered your behavior, thoughts, or emotions. Dan says it's the mono nowhere, the short life of the cherry blossom or fireflies. So beautiful, yet there's a loving sadness and gratitude. Yes, so many beautiful things are so short-lived and so delicate. Butterflies live such short times. The flowers blossom and are so quickly gone, even if the plant continues living and the fruit's growing. That beauty of small children, it passes so quickly. I mean, there's long scale beauty too. It's always there in the ocean. It's always there in the sand dunes. It's carved over millennia into the Grand Canyon. So there are both kinds, but there's something about that fleeting beauty that makes it precious. And on the other hand, there's something about that eternal beauty. The stars in the ocean. Nerdy Bird says that's quite true, although at this point, I don't know what you're saying that about. I have so much to say concerning the topic, I couldn't type it here. I have to talk it out someday. Well, we should record a talk someday, like with no pressure of uploading it. We should talk sometime. We can talk through your ideas and see if the whole conversation or parts of it are worth posting. All right, Taylor's doing well tonight. Let's all have gratitude for that. I had a rough day. I'm not feeling well physically. I picked up a bug, and I'm fucking exhausted. This year, like this day, now that we're entering, it's almost early evening. It's that twilight of the day. We're even just right in between seasons. But fuck did I wear myself out this year. Joel says, I bob along as quiet as a star in the sea. I like that. Okay, and Daniel says, back to the ABC model. The part that helps me is I can learn that mainly create my anxiety and many other things. By thinking differently, it helps to see things differently. Also about the cognitive distortion. Very, very fucking true. And that is inside most fucking religions, magical traditions and stuff. Like, so much when you get down to the bottom of everything. Like, all of creation is the mind of God. There's kind of nothing but God and God's thoughts. It depends how you use the word thought. Use the right way. There is nothing without thought. We don't perceive anything without thought. We use our thoughts, the ones both conscious and subconscious, to hallucinate the reality we experience. Whatever might be objectively there, it's our consciousness that actually generates our entire experience of the universe. If you really, really meditate on that, and you really try to apply that to everything, you realize how profoundly thought. It's like, from the Richard Dawkins perspective, you might describe it as altering the way you think alters the way you perceive reality. The more magical model seems to get to the actual essence of it more. That when you change the way you think and feel, it actually changes the universe. Because what you conceive of as the objective universe outside of your awareness is entirely within your own awareness. You perceive nothing but your own perception. As Nerdy Bird's now saying, SS percipi. To be is to perceive. If we can think differently, that's everything. Hold on a moment. Oh, okay, Dan's educating us. Sorry, wait, I'm calling you Daniel, because the other Dan Ramiko is Dan. All right, Daniel is educating us more on ABC. A, active event, what happens. B, the belief or views about what happens. C, consequences, behavior. Yeah, I have heard of that ABC model. Yeah, I've definitely seen some lectures on that. And found it was one of those things, like a lot of Peterson's teachings, where I didn't learn that much from it directly, but found that it was describing in language different from my own and with different details. Something that I'd, learned from meditation and just examination of myself. All right, I'm tired of thinking of what to say for myself, so I'm going to read some more pages from this. Okay, I read that page. Contemplate the workings of this world. Listen to the words of the wise. and take all that is good as your own. With this as your base, open your own door to truth. Do not overlook the truth that is right before you. Study how water flows in a valley stream, smoothly and freely between the rocks. Also learn from holy books and wise people. Everything, even mountains, rivers, plants, and trees, should be your teacher. As soon as you concern yourself with the good and bad of your fellows, you create an opening in your heart for maliciousness to enter. Testing, competing with, and criticizing others weakens and defeats you. The art of peace is not easy. It is a fight to the finish. The slaying of evil, desires, and all falsehood within. On occasion, the voice of peace resounds like thunder, jolting human beings out of their stupor. Joel quotes Dr. Peterson for us. Don't do anything that makes you weak. Excellent quote. And Daniel is going to be copying and pasting more information about that ABC model in the comment section. So anyone who's interested in hearing more about that, you can check out the comment section after this video goes up. And yeah, I agree with Nerdy Bird. Excellent idea. Thank you, Daniel. All life is a manifestation of the spirit, the manifestation of love. And the art of peace is the purest form of that principle. A warrior is charged with bringing a halt to all contention and strife. Universal love functions in many forms. Each manifestation should be allowed free expression. The art of peace is true democracy. Each and every master, regardless of the era or place, heard the call and attained harmony with heaven and earth. There are many paths leading to the top of Mount Fuji, but there is only one summit: love. Loyalty and devotion lead to bravery. Bravery leads to the spirit of self-sacrifice. The spirit of self-sacrifice creates trust in the power of love. Scott says, how have you been? Are you open to talking? Do you mean, am I open to talking about like myself personally in the moment? Or are you open to talking? Is that a question about talking one-on-one? Soon. Oh, fuck. You're Asa. I forget that. When I saw Scott Ames come up. Okay, so now I'm assuming you are talking about, talking one-on-one. Well, thanks for letting me read your stuff in the last full moon. So if anyone, I think it was the last full moon, if anyone's curious what me and Asa are talking about, on the last full moon, I read a couple things that he wrote at the beginning of my stream. So you can check out, I don't remember what the fuck it was called, but it's the last full moon live stream. I read a few things he wrote. So I've been a mix of great and in rough shape. Like this was a rough year for me. And again, in the way, like comparing it to a day, I woke up way the fuck too early and woke up sick this year. It's funny. I'm sick today as I'm looking back on this. But yeah, getting fucking COVID, the second day of spring was not a good start to my day, and I got it hard. And I had the long haul, like I had it for a whole fucking month. And then I had the long haul COVID. I've had I've had some problems that I think I'd probably, because we've talked one-on-one. Right in the moment, I don't remember what the fuck I've told you, but we've talked quite a bit. So I may have talked to you about some things that I don't talk about when I'm streaming. Yeah, so I've had some outside problems that were difficult this year. And I just feel I woke up too early. So overall, it's been a rough year up to this point. Now, I've had some excellent times over the summer. Things between Ani and I are going very, very well. Like as far as like between us, her and I, it's been wonderful. There have been problems to deal with. I'll kind of treat her life the way I treat mine, but just for both of us, there were outside circumstances that were difficult on each of us individually. And then even it's like most of this year was either horrible or fantastic. And that's the other thing is like being really happy is also tiring. A fun day at the fair is exhausting. It is so much fun, but it's exhausting. So I found I have not gotten much rest all this year. I had a significant amount of this year was very hard and tiring and wearing me out on like every level, trying to deal with problems and being sick and all that shit. And then like with new fucking love being so intense, on the other hand, the good times I've had with Ani have been like intensely good, which is also tiring. So even 2 days before fall sets in, my antlers feel very heavy. I'm needing to catch up on sleep overall. And I really need to recharge my batteries. And anyway, I don't know if I answered you or not as to talking one-on-one or if anyone else wants one-on-one private sessions. I am very exhausted, but if there aren't too many outside problems, I could probably fit in some private sessions soon, depending whether I get sicker rather than feeling better, or if outside problems get worse, I may not be able to do any for a while. So I'm like not sure right now to say. Like I would say message me in a couple days. Give me a couple days to see how I'm doing and see what's going on, and we'll take it from there. So that goes to Asa or anyone else who's wanting to talk. Yeah, I agree, Nerdy Bird. Asa's work is fucking beautiful. Also in the description of my last live stream, there's the links to Asa's what the fuck is it? Instagram. So he posts some of his writing and his visual art, which is also excellent, like very powerful there. And Joel says, I have a book of poetry, Late Alabama. It's available on Amazon. Very cool. All right, I'm tired of thinking of what to say again. The path of peace is exceedingly vast, reflecting the grand design of hidden and manifest worlds. A warrior is a living shrine of the divine, one who serves that grand purpose. Even though our path is completely different from the warrior arts of the past, it is not necessary to abandon totally the old ways. Absorb venerable traditions into the new. Art by clothing them with fresh garments, and build on the classic styles to create better forms. Daily training in the art of peace allows your inner divinity to shine brighter and brighter. Do not concern yourself with the right and wrong of others. Do not be calculating or act unnaturally. Keep your mind set on the art of peace, and do not criticize other teachers or traditions. The art of peace never restrains, restricts, or shackles anything. It embraces all and purifies everything. I will let you all think on that for a moment while I visit the little lunatic's room. Or write stuff in chat. Do whatever the fuck you want. Point is, I'll be back shortly. Daily training in the art of peace allows your inner divinity to shine brighter and brighter. Do not concern yourself with the right and wrongs of others. Do not be. Oh, wait, I read that one. All right. Those who are enlightened never stop forging themselves. The realization of such masters cannot be expressed well in words or by theories. The most perfect actions echo the patterns found in nature. Instructors can impart only a fraction of the teaching. It is through your own devoted practice that the mysteries of the art of peace are brought to life. To injure an opponent is to injure yourself. To control aggression without inflicting injury is the art of peace. Manifest yang in your right hand. Balance it with the yin of your left and guide your partner. If your heart is large enough to envelop your adversaries, you can see right through them and avoid their attacks. And once you envelop them, you will be able to guide them along a path indicated to you by heaven and earth. And yes, Nerdy Bird, do that, if I didn't say so already when I turned my mic on. Do not look upon this world with fear and loathing. Bravely face whatever the gods offer. Each day of human life contains joy and anger, pain and pleasure, darkness and light, growth and decay. Each moment is etched with nature's grand design. Do not try to deny or oppose the cosmic order of things. Life itself is always a trial. In training, you must test and polish yourself in order to face the great challenges of life. Transcend the realm of life and death, and then you will be able to make your way calmly and safely through any crisis that confronts you. Be grateful even for hardship, setbacks, and bad people. Dealing with such obstacles is an essential part of training in the art of peace. Failure is the key to success. Each mistake teaches us something. In extreme situations, the entire universe becomes our foe. At such critical times, unity of mind and technique is essential. Do not let your heart waver. All right, Asa says, your manic cycle started later due to getting really sick. When does your mania usually end? And do you think because of the interruption that it will last into the autumn? So yes, my manic cycle definitely started later. Usually my manic cycle's trailing off by now. Like it's starting to shift down. I feel it shifting in tune with the season, despite the fact that it started later. So I was wondering the same thing. Back when it was delayed, like when I spent all of spring low energy from the long haul COVID. But no, it's like being worn out from the late start used up the manic energy anyway. Actually, yeah, I remember describing back when I had fucking long haul. I remembered saying that it didn't even feel like the manic energy wasn't coming in. If I felt like a car that was pressing on the gas and brake at the same time. I felt like there was something opposing the manic energy. Yeah, and I was saying how the manic energy would only flow into negative shit, like anger and that kind of stuff. Because mania can flow into the joyous stuff and the agapic love and all of that, but it can also flow into negatives of hate and anger. So I remember that long haul COVID, like, did that. It, on the one hand, it was like depressing my system and it was zapping my energy and making me feel like shit. But it was also like made it so that the manic energy could only express itself in the negative forms. As I'm like plugging into myself back in the spring, I remember having all these beautiful moments where I was very aware that I should be feeling joy, but was feeling no fucking joy at all. And I went through a couple weeks there where it was like having a serial killer living in my head, because I couldn't feel joy about anything. I felt like Dexter, where even like there's this beautiful moment and like, you know, people I love and everything is nice and it's a beautiful spring day and there's fucking chipmunks eating out of our hands and like just practically even like a little Disney scene of perfection, and I would feel no joy whatsoever. It was just completely blocked. And then if anything at all difficult or bad happened, like the anger, self-righteousness, and all that shit could flood in so easily. So it seems like the energy got used up. And I'm shifting into fall normally, it seems. Yeah, this is really how I usually feel at the approach of the equinox. One should be prepared to receive 99% of an enemy's attack and stare death right in the face in order to illuminate the path. Asa says, hopefully your drop-off won't be more severe than usual. Not that it could be any worse, could it? Could always be worse. Always. Even my worst moments, as bad and as intense and as extreme as they've been, always could have been worse. Even my most suicidal state, where I was the closest to stepping over, when I felt the most hopeless, you could always make it worse. You always could have come in and broken one of my arms, killed a loved one. But I am hoping cautiously that this winter won't be too bad. I'm not expecting anything right now. There are times where I am very calculating and looking forward and trying to predict and plan. One thing this year being hard did was knock that right the fuck out of me. You know, especially when you're sick enough. Like when you've got a fever for weeks where it's cold sweats at night and just you're constantly miserable and no energy and, you know, all the other lovely symptoms that go along with that. When you're sick enough, you just give up on everything and fucking lie in bed. And it's not even like that was the beginning of me getting knocked for a loop. The past couple years have been hard. They've been a mix of wonderful and hard. Just taking on this channel was a big change for me. So at the point I got knocked for a loop in the spring, that was already after a couple years of pushing myself out of my comfort zone quite a bit. I also really pushed the limit of how I can hold myself together psychologically quite a bit over the past couple years. And even though there were time periods during that where I was being very fucking Taoist about it, there were a lot of time periods where I was being very fucking left-brained about it. Especially when you try to work with other people and set plans with people, it involves a lot of planning. But there was a lot of monkey mind activity over the past couple years, which at many times I was mindfully engaged in. I had chosen to engage in that kind of planning because that's how you collaborate with people. But there have been times where I've done too fucking much of that. And there's times when, like, I mindfully allow myself to step into a game for a certain amount of time. Then I notice it's too wearing on me. Then I have trouble stepping out of it when I try to at times. Like when I push myself really hard, I get myself amped up into a state that I can't just turn off. It's like I have to slowly gear down over days or sometimes weeks when I get myself going too much. I wasn't cautious enough with that over the past couple of years. Now, obviously, that's also I needed to. Exactly what needed to happen happened. I made exactly the mistakes I needed to make. But it led me to a place of complete fucking breakdown and abandon this year. I very much gave up and handed everything over to God and was like, fuck it, I can't handle any of this. You take over. Which is probably why, like at the last minute, preparing for tonight, I grabbed this book. It wasn't because I've been living more easternly. It was just because I saw it sitting on the fucking shelf like an hour before coming on and thought, fuck, I need to read something. I'll read some of my favorite pages out of that. Oh, all that rambling came from you saying hopefully the drop-off won't be more severe than usual. So yeah, I'm not predicting, but part of me is cautiously hoping that the drop-off won't be so bad this year and that like it is pleasant or it is possible to have a pleasant depression. It's possible to have a pleasant time in the crypt and for it to be restful and peaceful and to feel all sacred and shit. I've had that kind of winter before. And if that's what's coming this year, that would be nice. I'm not calculating the odds the way former me's might have. Nerdy Bird says, throughout it all, I've maintained a remarkable ability to express myself. Without that, I'd be much worse off. I have thoughts about how profoundly important the ability to express oneself is. Not just the ability, the opportunity that I don't know how to put in words. But you said you were going to message me about doing a talk, so we can talk about that. And we'll see how the conversation turns out. Maybe we'll put it up here. Oh, and I do have a fucking podcast ready to go up. I just haven't fucking given it. Yeah, it's a very minor amount to do. There's been so much going on for me this month. I just fucking forgot about it. Hi, not Jeff. So Jeff says, hey, bro, always felt an uneasy connection. Never been a big follower, but always kept you in the notifications. You're something to witness, and I hope you reach your potential. Thank you, Jeff. Not Jeff. How's life been treating you lately? Nerdy Bird says, much, if not all of life, reduces to exchange. What's hidden under that is that all of that, underneath all of that, it's all just love or a cry for love. Everything's exchange, everything's relationship. And so the exchange can either be a conscious expression of love, or it can be an unconscious expression of love, which may take on the mask of hate or fear. Not Jeff says, so yeah, where I didn't ask how you were doing, I asked how life's treating you. Not Jeff replied, it seems to give back what I put in, even if it seems like a joke. I like jokes. Well put. I feel like I am proof God has a sense of humor. I am just one big joke. So we should get along fine. In the art of peace, we never attack. An attack is proof that one is out of control. Never run away from any kind of challenge, but do not try to suppress or control an opponent unnaturally. Let attackers come any way they like, and then blend with them. Never chase after opponents. Redirect each attack and get firmly behind it. The real art of peace is not to sacrifice a single one of your warriors to defeat an enemy. Vanquish your foes by always keeping yourself in a safe and unassailable position. Then no one will suffer any losses. The way of a warrior, the art of politics, is to stop trouble before it starts. It consists in defeating your adversaries spiritually by making them realize the folly of their actions. The way of a warrior is to establish harmony. In your training, do not be in a hurry, for it takes a minimum of 10 years to master the basics and advance to the first rung. Never think of yourself as an all-knowing, perfected master. You must continue to train daily with your friends and students and progress together in the art of peace. Cast off limiting thoughts and return to true emptiness. Stand in the midst of the great void. This is the secret of the way of a warrior. The techniques of the way of peace change constantly. Every encounter is unique, and the appropriate response should emerge naturally. Today's techniques will be different tomorrow. Do not get caught up with the form and appearance of a challenge. The art of peace has no form. It is the study of the spirit. Ultimately, you must forget about technique. The further you progress, the fewer teachings there are. The great path is really no path. The art of peace that I practice has room for each of the world's 8 million gods, and I cooperate with them all. The God of peace is very great and enjoins all that is divine and enlightened in every land. The art of peace is a form of prayer that generates light and heat. Forget about your little self. Detach yourself from objects, and you will radiate light and warmth. Light is wisdom. Warmth is compassion. The divine is not something high above us. It is in heaven. It is in earth. It is inside us. Yes, I figured you would like these, Nerdy Bird. Unite yourself to the cosmos, and the thought of transcendence will disappear. Transcendence belongs to the profane world. When all trace of transcendence vanishes, the true person, the divine being, is manifest. Empty yourself and let the divine function. You cannot see or touch the divine with your gross senses. The divine is within you, not somewhere else. Unite yourself to the divine, and you will be able to perceive gods wherever you are, but do not try to grasp or cling to them. The divine does not like to be shut up in a building. The divine likes to be out in the open. It is right here in this very body. Each one of us is a miniature universe, a living shrine. Not Jeff says, I think I overcomplicate things to avoid my destiny. It's all pretty simple. I linger in between states, but being without form seems duplicitous or contrary and almost a betrayal to some function. Interesting. We all overcomplicate things. That varies in degree, but not in kind between us. And it's funny how simple everything is underneath. So often I find myself dragging all the corpses of my former selves along with me. all the wisdom and the lessons. It's like to get somewhere, to get across that void, to move through the chaos of being. You just keep phoenixing. But you rope those corpses of your former selves together to make a raft, like in the Black Freighter. And it involves overcomplicating things and avoiding our destinies. And it involves being blind to that simplicity underneath. But it's necessary to get us somewhere. But all the psychology and philosophy and spirituality and religion and magic, it's a bridge we need to get back and find that simplicity. But once you get there, you don't need the bridge anymore. Once you cross the ocean, you don't need that raft of corpses. And it just slows you down beyond that. I've noticed times recently where I became very aware of all the past that I was dragging behind me in each moment. I was very aware of all the frames and fucking reality tunnels that I've learned to juggle and explore. Very aware of all the fucking philosophy and psychology and all that shit. I've spent a certain amount of time putting it down without leaving it behind me. Before I noticed this book and decided to read it tonight, the thought of going live did involve a reluctance to pick any of that up. And I noticed a part of me would love to walk away from it all now. To just move into that simplicity. Okay, everything's one. It's all love. Either manifesting itself plainly as love or masquerading as something else. And there is such a simple way to live that. But it doesn't feel like it's time yet to walk away from it completely. I guess I'm not done with my bridge yet. Because I'm trying to reach other people. And not even to take people across my own bridge. My bridge is my fucking bridge. Just to maintain the bridge and stay connected to it in the hope that you seeing that I have one makes you see that you have your own. And in response to you saying that you linger between states, but being without form seems duplicitous or contrary and almost a betrayal to some function, which there is truth in that, and there is truth in the exact opposite of that as well. But Nerdy Bird reacted to that by saying form follows function. And thank you for sharing of yourself, not Jeff. Well integrated and much meaningful, or mucho meaningful. And Not Jeff followed with ever molting, my friend. Trying to stay true to something, longing for what? My eyes are tired. It's hard to read the small words. I can't make out that last one. Hey, Vakur. Good morning. Happy 6 a.m. in Scotland. Nice to have you here. Not Jeff says, I used to be infatuated with violence and still am to some extent, but I really do think love is the ultimate force in this plane. Excellent self-awareness and honesty. There's an appeal to violence. There's a draw to the dark side. There's an appeal to it. There's a thrill to adrenaline. There's the way the Cenobites look at pain, an exploration of extremes. Exploring what seems to be the opposite of love, exploring hate and evil, teaches us more about love. But yeah, as stupid as and simple as it sounds, that is the big key to everything, is it's just love. And like I often say, there's a few major questions that things come down to. There's a few kind of base axioms that are important because you build everything else up from there. If the first one is you just see that everything is love, it makes it obvious that when it comes to the question of is the universe worth, is the game worth playing? Is God good or evil? The answer to that obviously becomes God is good. God is love. Everything is love. So yes, the game's worth playing. Also, if everything's love, then obviously telling the truth is one of the highest principles. And I think if you start with those base axioms so that they apply to everything, there's not a moment of your life where you can't ask yourself, is the way I am perceiving, experiencing, and behaving in this moment based on my understanding that everything is love? And is what I am being, perceiving, and expressing, both to the world and myself, the truth or not? Am I being honest? You can always ask yourself those two things. If you are always asking yourself those two things, it will change everything from there up. It will change the way you perceive and experience things. It will change your perception of other people. That's where things begin, all the Eastern shit just starts happening naturally inside you. If you're working from, it's all love and honesty is one of the highest principles. I guess the all is one. Is that even a separate axiom down at that level, or does that come from, but if everything's love, then everything's obviously one. But Jesus' shit starts making more sense when you just base everything off of that. And you'll discover a lot of deep truths about life by just forcing yourself to try to be aware of that. I mean, think about was it David Foster Wallace's This Is Water speech? We have the choice of how to perceive things. And when you don't know what the truth is, be careful about what you project onto it, because it changes everything. So Roger's providing some levity by saying, hey, bro, 2003 just called. They want their webcam quality back. Yeah, the quality here is horrible. It's even worse on some of my older streams. But I should be getting a new computer soon. Hey, Pat, how you doing? I haven't talked to you in fucking feels like forever in this moment. I know it wasn't really forever ago. But in this moment, it feels a lot like it's been forever since we've spoken. Not Jeff says it really is like a key to doors unseen. Yeah, it fucking is in a way that will sound so ridiculous to someone who hasn't experienced. Like, even if we took myself when I was 20, myself at 20 was listening to this and like reading what you wrote, I would not have understood what the fuck we're talking about. And it would have seemed fuck, I don't even know how to put this into words. I'm tired. Now, what the Hindus would call Brahmin. Not Jeff says, and on the other side are smiling faces that reflect your inner grace if you just let it be. Yeah. Anyone else have something they want to share or an entirely different subject they want to ask about? I'm starting to think about wrapping this stream up. I think I only have a couple pages left that I was going to read. And I'm caught up on chat. So if anyone has anything at all, the stage, I'm going to just leave the stage open for a moment if anyone wants to say anything or bring anything up. You're very welcome, Nerdy Bird. Thank you for showing up. It's nice to see some point to what you're doing. Nobody wants to build a house and then have nobody move in. No one wants to write a book that no one reads. I'm glad that some people get something out of this. I've noticed I do quite a bit of beating myself up for not doing better with the channel. Actually, Ani pointed out to me that I do that with everything. She says I put too much pressure on myself to... I'm going to paraphrase. I'm not going to try to remember exactly what she said. But that I put too much pressure on myself to fix every situation. To always change myself so that everything goes optimally. That I am overly focused on being there for everyone, including my, enemies. That even, the way even when someone else is wrong, I try to look at it. I try to be actively forgiving and to look at it like they're just expressing their lack of enlightenment and that they're doing the best they can. And that if I can perceive If I can perceive the problems in them, then I'm the one responsible for compensating for it. Then she's right. In every facet of my life, I put too much pressure on myself. And I mean, I am to a certain degree mindful of it. But not as fully as what she saw spending time with me. I can see more of it now after her pointing it out to me. I do quite a bit of beating up on myself for not doing better with the channel. I mean, it is the apocalypse after all. And so many people need so little. There's immense opportunity to improve the world right now. Very, very easily. If I just have my own shit together, I can see how I could do so much more, like on a small scale. But all of us are much, much more important than we realize. And it goes on every level. Like Peterson and Sam Harris and those people do not really realize the effect they have. Like, look how overwhelmed with emotion Peterson gets over the small amount of it that is presented directly to him. The number of people who directly say the effect he's had on them. But it's the same with all of us. We have a larger, well, especially for some of the members of this community, have a much, much larger effect on the universe than they realize. We all matter a lot more than we feel like. Because it's in a different way than that self-centered ego shit. Fuck, it can sound like that. But it's like, mix what I was just saying with like the point of the Doctor Strange movie. Also, it's not about you. You yourself are not about you. You are about the whole universe. And then you balance that with the whole universe is about you. And there can become a burdensome sense of duty that becomes counterproductive. Nerdy Bird says blame is convenient, not fundamental. Blame seems convenient. It's counterproductive. Yeah, I'm glad you were here tonight, not Jeff. And you, Nerdy Bird, and everyone else. Nerdy Bird said, as Peterson said, we meet 1,000, they meet 1,000, that equals 1,000,000. 1,000 more equals 1,000,000,000. Yeah, we all touch so much more of the world than we realize. Small shit we do to people can echo out. Like every time you interact with someone, you can either improve their mood, you can shift them towards love, like both feeling and expressing love, or you can shift them towards the shadows of love, fear or hatred or that kind of shit. But it's like you can improve someone's mood or make it worse with every interaction. Then if you make their mood a little bit worse, they behave a little worse. And it's like when you start to see the way reality feeds back and you get back what you put out, Sometimes you shifting somebody slightly towards the negative is enough to send them gradually rolling downhill quicker and quicker. It ripples out. Or the same reverse. Like unexpected acts of kindness towards people shifts them towards the love perspective, makes it more likely that they're going to be more loving with other people, and it ripples out. Like that game, what is it, 6 Degrees of Separation, like the Kevin Bacon game that everyone knows. Is it 6 or 7 degrees? Like we're all within 7 people. We're within 7 people of knowing everyone in the world. And then I don't know where that game came from to try to figure out how many degrees of separation you have with Kevin Bacon. But for me, it's 1 degree of separation. I know 2 people that know Kevin Bacon. I know James Gunn and Lloyd Kaufman. So that's where I score on that game. But apparently everyone will score within 7. We're all connected, much more than we realize. Joel says, things change, but the process by which they change remains the same. Waves wash ashore, constantly changing, but the process by which waves wash the shore remains the same. Agreed. Anyone have anything else to say, or should I read the last couple pages? Actually, I thought of a fucking funny story to share for those of you who've stuck it out this far. I thought this was funny. So, Ani got here on the 1st, and the airport's about an hour and a half from here. And I don't like to drive with my anxiety since being hit by the bus. I don't like to drive. I can drive. I still have my license. I'm a good driver. I used to drive a moving truck, but with anxiety, I don't like to drive anymore. So I asked my brother to take me to pick up Audie. And like to bribe / thank him for doing it. There's a fucking sledgehammer he's been needing. Like my brother's a farmer, so he's always got tools that he needs. I told him, give me the ride to go pick up Ani, and I'll get you that sledgehammer you need. So he was all happy to be the one to do the drive. So we go and pick up Ani at the airport. Like, this is her first time leaving America. I think this is funny because how brave she is. Well, she meets a fucking lunatic online. And for the first time ever, like, she's never flown alone before. She's never left America before. She flies way the fuck out here. Me and my brother pick her up. First thing we do is stop at a fucking hardware store. My brother goes looking at the sledgehammers. And they didn't have the fucking sledgehammer he wanted. He wanted a very specific one. So he's looking at this one sledgehammer, and it's not quite as heavy, and it's got a cheaper handle, and he's hemming and hawing. And we looked around somewhere else. He looked at the axes before going to get the sledgehammer he wanted. And there were a couple axes he needed, and they had like the good quality, fucking expensive ones. So he's looking at the sledgehammer, wondering if, we should try going somewhere else or if he should just get that one. And I pointed out to him that when he was looking at the axes, he was excited, but looking at the sledgehammer, he was not excited. It's not the one he wanted. And so I was like, do you just want a fucking axe instead? And he was like, yeah, definitely. And so we go over and he gets this axe he's all excited about. So then we go get in the car, and like I get in the back seat with Ani, like so me and her can talk more easily. And Greg gets into the car and sets the big shiny axe he just bought in the seat beside him, like in the passenger seat. And then to get from the airport to where I live, it's just like first you drive out of the city, and then you're just kind of driving more and more into the middle of nowhere. And it's like then you pass another, large town, and then you're middle of nowhere a bit, and then it's a smaller town, and then it's, driving through the middle of nowhere, and then you're going through these little tiny towns that are barely towns. And I just thought that was so fucking funny. And I even joked when Greg was looking at the axes and asking me about which one he needed. I was even making jokes like, it doesn't matter, either a sledgehammer or any one of these axes will kill her exactly the same. It doesn't matter, just pick the one you want. And Ani would just laugh at that. And then when we were driving right out, like to the point where we're on this little stretch of road where there's nothing but trees on either side, you can't see anything anywhere. And she was not in the slightest worried. When I asked her, I was like, no part of you is worried that you have just been picked up and driven out into the middle of nowhere right after buying an axe. And she just found that hilarious. So Ani is an incredibly brave girl. But I find the image of that in my head very funny. How perfectly calm she was as we drove her out into the middle of nowhere with an axe on the seat. Dan says, an aspect of the saint, pilgrim, bodhisattva, ever learning and devoted to God. Sorry, I'm now 15 minutes behind. Oh, that's fine. And Asa says, being consistently creative is difficult. I seem to quickly lose interest and get depressed the more time passes, but the project needs time. I've only written one slug piece since our last talk. That makes me think of two Charles Bukowski poems. It makes me think of Go All the Way, but also So You Want to Be a Writer. Both of those are true. Go All the Way talks about just fucking doing it, expressing, all the shit and going all the way no matter what the cost. And then So You Want to Be a Writer talks about don't do it. If it feels burdensome, don't do it. If even the thought of it makes you feel tired, don't do it. Like the way he would go through periods of writing, and sometimes he would just go lay in a dark room for hours. Sometimes he just wouldn't do anything because he wasn't feeling it. And the fucking times you can't work, because I know you go in and out of, working on your art. And I bet you when you're not working, I'm sure you do the same as me. Like you beat up on yourself for not doing the work better, for not just doing it at times when you're not working at all. Or even when you are being productive, you're putting pressure on yourself to do it better, to do the bigger project. There's a time for that. And there's a time to just let go of all of that and recharge. And the times when you don't think you're working on your art, like even the working on your art and not working on your art is a duality that does not exist from another perspective. From another perspective, even when you're not working on your art, you are. Because when you do get that motivation to get writing, part of the reason your work is so brilliant is the way what you have been through informs what you are writing. The depressive states, the periods where you torture yourself for not working, all of the difficulty and all of the things that appear counterproductive to you have shown you that aspect of reality. It's shaped all the work you do. It's part of your preparation is the actual actively learning to do the art. but part of your preparation has been the difficulties that you've experienced in life so intensely. It takes both of those put together to create what you create. And Asa follows up with, I don't like this approach to creativity. That time has to play such an important variable, but I'm getting older. And with this awareness, my fears of failure increase. So this fear of time is magnified. It's understandable. And for some reason, you need to be experiencing this in the moment. The extreme states like to trick us into thinking they're there forever. On the one hand, it's too late. Always has been, always will be. On the other hand, everything is proceeding exactly the way it is supposed to be. I can't tell you exactly why it had to happen to you this way. That's the way it seems to me. But we'll talk more soon. And yeah, I understand that, Dan. Dan says, thank you for being here, brother. It gets lonely out here. Yeah, I've lived the way you're living. It does get lonely. There's a beauty to be found in that isolation, but it needs to be balanced with the beauty that can be found in connection as well. So I'm glad the fates brought us together in this way. Pat says, I'm with you, Scott. I'm a writer too, haven't put much on paper in this last few months, but last year and a half, really. Been very depressed version of myself lately. I think it's a collective depression. Most are covering it up with alcohol and pharmaceutical drugs, in my opinion, with or without knowing they are covering anything up. Nerdy Bird wrote, yes, I don't find this method practical, just reading other comments. I too am a writer, and my sentiments exactly. And Pat says, maybe this is the writer's moon, ? Well, I labeled it the Reaper's moon, and it's a harvest moon. And we were discussing earlier the death, the birth, and the transformation, and that the one thing that doesn't change is that things change. And we all know Peterson's shit about you are not any one expression of yourself. You are the thing that keeps changing. You're the awareness behind it. We keep dying and being reborn. It seems there's a group of people here connected to the same energy involving this kind of writer's block and depression. I sense the energy of exactly what I titled this today. Is like I made that thumbnail and title off feeling the energy. And I was expecting a death moment here, everything that the harvest signifies. And this is the full moon moving us into the evening. It's fall now. There's a shift of energies. And yeah, sometimes a bad morning and a bad day lead to a bad evening and a bad night, but not all the time. Both talking in literal days or in the longer day of the yearly cycle. I've had years where the morning's rough, the day's horrible, and then the evening or night are just fine, where evening is such a relief to have it all behind you. And then you take some time to enjoy the gearing down towards bed, and where you just sleep deep and restfully, having beautiful dreams. And so you can see there that what came out is I have a longing for fucking rest this season, and for like restorative experience, that kind of regenerative joy and love, not like the burning up energy intense, the nurturing side of it. It seems a group of you would like to get active with things. Is that energy of having been stuck in writer's block. And I'm sure that, like, yeah, most of you here have also experienced those evenings and nights when you were so productive, where whatever the morning and day had, it's like you get home and have a bit of coffee or whatever, and you stay up all night. And it just fucking pours out of you. So full moons, especially a harvest moon, is a shift of energy. I had put that into this. And to me, where the metaphor lines up between a reaper's moon and, like what I was saying earlier to Asa, which is Scott, but sometimes the writer's block and the depression and the difficulty and the frustration and all of that shit is what you have to go through for a few months, and that has to build up, and then that fucking flavors and informs your writing when it finally comes out. So taking that more an Eastern perspective of a crisis is actually an opportunity, taking the expression of everything is happening to you, everything is happening for you, not to you. Everything is love, or love masquerading as its opposite. Perhaps this has all been being done to you, and what has been growing there in the frustration and the depression is the inspiration, and that now is the time to harvest that. And so a shift of seasons, and perhaps the writing will flow out naturally now, because you've grown it in the depression. It's time to harvest that suffering, mix it with the inspiration and the creative energy. And so I guess my advice to everyone at the moment who's a writer or an artist and has been feeling blocked is, in this moment, invite it like a mystical energy. Invite it like you would invite a woman on a date, with like respect and love and optimism and openness. Invite the active creative force to enter you and to allow you to make use of all of your suffering up to this point to shift the world more towards love and understanding. And I think if you can generate that emotional state and that openness, that it will come to you. And Pat says that will actually help someone. All right, good. Then I think we can wrap up tonight. I'll still respond if anything else comes up. Well, I'm going to read the last few pages that I'd earmarked. When you bow deeply to the universe, it bows back. When you call out the name of God, it echoes inside you. The art of peace is the religion that is not a religion. It perfects and completes all religions. The path is exceedingly vast. From ancient times to the present day, even the greatest sages were unable to perceive and comprehend the entire truth. The explanation and teachings of masters and saints express only part of the whole. It is not possible for anyone to speak of such things in their entirety. Just head for the light and heat, learn from the gods, and through the virtue of devoted practice to the art of peace, become one with the divine. God bless. Lunatic love doll.